Let's go to the Volta region for our first story, and residents of Akachi have resolved to petition the IGP over the deaths of two persons following their clash with the police. This was occasioned by an operation by the police to keep sanity in the Akachi South municipality. A police riot van is reported to have rammed into three youth on a motorcycle, leading to the death of one of them. This was during a hot chase by the police after suspecting them to be culprits of a recent robbery. Now, in an interview with me earlier on the AM show, the assemblyman for the area, Wanda Gatepe, said they would petition the IGP for justice that we are having. So where then do you seek justice? Are you going to petition, for example, the Inspector General of Police? Have you reached out to the regional minister, for example, who is chairperson of the RegSec? What has been the move to get some investigation going into this matter?
Well, I would say, even as of yesterday, though I wasn't around, I was monitoring everything on the radio stations in our town. So I realized that when it got to a stage, I had the regional commander and then a regional crime officer, including our MP and then our municipal commander. I had them all on radio, trying to console the families and then to persuade the youth to prevail peace in the area. So for now, I would say the issue has already gotten to a higher level. So I believe as professionals at the top, they know how they're going to deal with this issue. The whole incident on social media. So per what I heard is just similar to what, or same as what Brother Solomon just narrated. Yes, that is what I heard. So when I came back, I tried looking for the families of the deceased, and then we went to them just to go and then to console them, also to hear the actual story. And just as Brother Solomon said, those were the news we also heard. So this morning we're also trying our best to get to the police to also hear their part. Because when an incident happens like this, you don't just listen to one side and then you draw your conclusion.
Now, on the back of that, security analyst Adib Sani has encouraged residents to go ahead with the intended action to stop further involvement of the police in the investigation process. According to him, the police have been indicted in the incident and may be protective of their own.
Unfortunate incident. Some of us received the news with utter shock because for that many persons to die in the hands of the police is definitely a worrying phenomenon. However, the violence that we are witnessing is as a result of the mistrust people in the area have in the police. As a matter of fact, I have taken the trouble to speak with some one or two persons, and they pointed to previous encounters with the police, especially between the police and the youth. And there's widespread mistrust and lack of confidence in the police. And so sometimes some of these frustrations simmer until a trigger causes people to respond. So I think that this should serve as a unique opportunity on the part of the police to win the hearts and minds of the people by ensuring that proper investigations is conducted, by ensuring that if their men are found culpable, they should be dealt with according to the law. They should also give the opportunity to the police to reach out to the people in the area to get them to buy into the idea that the police is their friend, which invariably would engender their trust and confidence.
Let's talk about evidence. Selom tells me that some residents there have, the police has been accused of using live bullets together with rubber bullets, and that they have evidence. On the other hand, we also have the bit concerning the van concerned, which supposedly rammed into the three on a motorbike, which again allegedly was hastily repaired. Is this tampering with evidence?
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but it's quite obvious. Even if there's a scratch on a police property, you have to report it. You don't have to make any attempt to even clean it with a brake fluid. And so the fact that there was a hasty attempt to clean up the mess obviously is indicative of an attempt to cover up, and that should also be looked into. In recent times, the police has been very high-handed, with respect to the fight against, armed robbers. Today, you hear 3 persons gunned down, suspected to be robbers.
Let's talk about dangerous settlements, as experts are warning that part of the Wager Hills close to the Kaswa toll booth faces imminent collapse. They say human activities like sand mining and the blasting of rocks have affected that part of the ridge. Hence, heavy rainfall or earthquakes in the area could result in a landslide. Maxwell Agbaba reports that in spite of the warning, some residents say they feel safe. He has been speaking to them as part of our Joy in My Community program on the JoyNews channel.
The captivating view of part of the Wager Hill overlooking the Accra Cape Coast Highway. Beautiful view which continues to attract estate and private developers. A team of experts visited the Wager Ridge some weeks ago and passed a scary verdict. They say as a result of the human activities such as sand mining and quarrying activities, the hill has become weak and faces imminent collapse.
We are coming to you from the community on a hill, the Wager Ridge, which has been described by the Ghana Geological Survey Authority and Environmental Protection Agency as a ticking time bomb. But the residents here think otherwise. We hear from the experts and the people.
Very difficult for us to get to school because when we are climbing, when you step on the rocks, it's normally...
Here on a part of the Wager Hill, I've met 14-year-old Richmond Sikapa, the Form 1 student of the AME Zion School in Kaswa, just returned from school. He loves it here, but hates the tremor that he says usually occurs at night.
It was very terrible. Sometimes when it rains, the earthquake, it feels like when you are in the building, it shakes the building. So we become scared.
So usually happens around what time? At night?
Yeah, sometimes. At night, sometimes at day.
Okay. Do you remember the last time it happened?
Last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Okay. But can you tell, what is it like living here?
Yeah, when it rains, it becomes very cold here. So when you go to where the sell things to, the sell things, usually they don't come because of the earthquake. They are scared.
Okay.
So all the people hide in their room.
Okay. Samuel Okan has lived on the Wager Ridge since 2000. He says access to potable drinking water remains a challenge. He tells me that for a very long time, residents here have not had water flowing through their taps. He's concerned about the quarrying activities on the hill as well. He tells me that has stopped for some time now after the intervention of city authorities.
This place, our main challenges are the roads. There's no water.
Okay.
This place, the tremor, you can be there sometimes, you experience it twice or 3 times a day.
Wow.
Very sharp. You get up on your bed, then it's just gone.
Yeah. This is dangerous.
Yeah, they done it because they quarry the sand for other work at, I think, around Tetekwashi interchange. This is where they had the sand.
Okay.
To fill those places. So that side, there's an erosion part there, which it could be a landslide one day. That down there could be a landslide. Oh, living at that edge there is dangerous. And people still quarrying stones over there. You go there, they are there quarrying stones. And nobody, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Municipal Assembly, nothing is done about it. You see them there.
Kwesidavo has lived in this community for the past 2 decades. He tells me that as a result of the human activity on this hill, anytime it rains, there's a collection of silt onto the main Accra Kaswa highway, just some meters away from where I'm standing. It says that usually causes a gridlock on the stretch.
The road to the community, the road is very bad. And whenever it rains, the rain always wash away the soil from the road, and it's very difficult for the cars to come to the town. There's no dangerous at the top there. But when they started taking the sands from the mountain, they came to stop them, and they've stopped. But when you go to the top there, just like where we are now, it's very safe and nothingness. Supposing they are continuing using that site for stone quarry and those things, I'll say it will be dangerous. But what they've stopped now, it is not going to be dangerous. It's okay.
Justice Adegbe has also lived in this community for the past 20 years. He's equally concerned about the silt that is usually dumped on the main Accra Kaswa Road after every rainfall. He wants government to take urgent steps to fill up the huge hole that has been left here on this hill. He believes that when that is done, the silt that is usually washed down the hill will stop.
They have these contractors, they come to the gravels were collected from this very part of the mountain, and then after they left the place unprotected, like maybe they left the place unprotected, and then they left it ajar. So when it rains, the force from the mountain pushes the rain towards this direction, which has dug a very big hole at the top there. So all the time when it rains, it just flows to the main street, and then it blocks the street. When it goes to the top there, when you check, it's very awful. You will not be very happy when you see that particular hole. It's my major concern about I want the government to do something about that particular thing. It's not good. When you pass this there, even as you personally, as a man, with the courage you have, when you get there, your film, will go. Even passing there, it's very dreadful.
We've been to the Wager Ridge, and we've seen the danger there on that ridge. We've been interacting with residents. Many of them feel that there's no danger at all. But we're here to hear from the expert. We're here at the National Seismological Observatory to hear from an expert. He's a principal seismologist here, Nicholas Opuk. He was part of a team of experts who visited the Wager Ridge some days ago. Is it a satellite dish?
This is a satellite dish. Okay. Yes, it's part of the earthquake monitoring equipment or setup for monitoring vibrations of the ground in Ghana. Okay. Yes. So what we have sensitive equipment that detects vibrations of the ground. Okay. And we've placed them at different locations purposely to monitor earthquakes. When a bigger earthquake occurs, this mountain can undergo landslides because the mountain itself is unstable from geological point of view. Okay. And so once
is it the Wager Ridge?
The Wager Ridge mountain, yes. Especially the parts closer to the toll booth area and some selected areas have a lot of soft rocks in it. So they are inherently weak. And because it's also an earthquake-prone zone, it has undergone serious, various shaking in the past. Okay, so you can see a lot of fractures in the rocks. So they are actually weak. So it makes the place more prone to landslides. So even under gravity, you can have a landslide. Wow. And these landslides are also normally exacerbated by earthquakes, because when earthquake occurs, they add more load to destabilize the slopes. It also compounds the risk of landslides in the area.
Okay.
The materials are loose. So when it rains heavily, it adds so much load to destabilize the slope.
Yeah.
So they weather it, they erode it all the way to engulf the down settlement.
Yeah.
And so those who are settling down on the roadside, such materials will go and engulf them. And also because it's also eroding the hills.
Yeah.
And there are also buildings on top of the hills. Okay, so it means their foundation is being washed away. And so a time will come that even buildings on top will also be affected. It's more, some aspect has to do with engineering solution. Yes. Okay. Because unfortunately it's a very tall mountain. So you can see the slope is very, very steep.
Yeah.
And because we have also cut it.
Yeah.
And we have also cut it closer to the buildings on top.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to bench it from engineering point of view to stabilize it. You understand? But so surely I think there should be a way at engineering solution aimed at destabilizing the slope.
Yeah.
But then, of course, still some elements of structures which are at high risk also needs to be deconcentrated from the area, to reduce the level of risk in the area.
So that would mean demolishing some of the structures? Or?
Yes, if they are at high risk, sure, then some of them, those at high risk, ought to be.
Well, on the back of that, let's get on Zoom and interact with a road and building consultant, engineer Abdullahi Mahama, for more. Engineer Mahama, thank you for joining the conversation. You have seen how silt from the hill is usually dumped on the main Accra-Kaswa highway after every rainfall, causing traffic and inconvenience to motorists. Now, there are fears the entire highway could be cut off should there be a landslide, as the experts are warning. Is this correct?
Yes, let me say good morning to your viewers. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Engineer Mahama.
Well, before I answer the question, I think Maswala Gbagba spoke with me yesterday in the evening, and I sent him a WhatsApp on my Twitter handle on the 29th of March 2022. I stated emphatically that in the coming days there will be a massive awashing of the soil at the wager to the road. That was 29th March 2022. I'm not a prophet of doom. But before then, last year we had a documentary by one of your very own who was with you at Joy, Komla Adom. And the title was Time Ticking Bomb. So the specialist the expert you just spoke with right now was part of the documentary, myself and the NADMO.
Right.
And so this is not news to me. So I just want you to, I'll pick the Twitter handle for you once again, and you confirm that on the 29th of March at Mahama under Asko Abdullahi, just about 2 weeks ago, under 2 weeks ago. So Friday, when it happened, a lot of my colleagues were calling to find out what did I see. And I said, well, that's the field that we study. And it's unfortunate that when we speak about these things, authorities do not take it very serious. So I'm just praying and hoping that what I alluded to or what I stated on my Twitter handle does not come to pass. But sadly, it's what we've started seeing. And what I preempted was that we're going to have massive mudslide that may cover the two approaches of the carriageway, i.e. those who are Kaswa bound and those who are Accra bound. Now what we see is that whenever it rains, because of the fracture of the mountain, the Weja mountain, a certain quantity of debris, i.e. the loose weathered phyllite, comes onto the road and then more or less covers the Accra leg, that's the Accra bound portion of the road, by 0.4 of a meter to 0.6, depending on the magnitude of the rain. One of these days, it will go beyond the first one, the Accra bound leg of the carriageway, and go across the other leg. That may even lead towards the Weja lake itself. And in that instance, we're going to have a total blockage of both carriageways in and out of Accra.
Engineer Mahama, very quickly, I just want you to chip in this bit. How bad would it be if what you are talking about were to happen? How bad would it be in terms of loss of life? How bad would it be in terms of the blockage and preventing people from moving to and fro? How bad would that be?
Well, it's going to be very severe. The country may not be able to work on it as expected. We're going to have a lot of buildings there who are going to be covered total by the backslide. We will be fortunate if it happens within the day, and people may be active or they'll have a lot of caution because they know the situation around the areas. But if it happens in the night when people are actually asleep, we wouldn't wake up the next morning to have a very good story or a good news about what will happen within that area. What worries me is that all that we have enumerated, the activities are ongoing. A lot of construction activities are still ongoing. And sadly, when you check the people who are staying within those areas, they have permits from the assembly. So in even government trying to ward off the people, what is the assembly itself doing in issuing permit to the people, knowing that those areas are dangerous for habitation of human lives? And I don't want to imagine the extent of devastation that this country will be confronted with should we have maybe 72 hours non-stop rain or more, because it will make the rock so heavy, the weather rock will be so loose, because like the people are saying, every now and then the mountain is going through some process of earth tremors, and so it's getting fractured, it's opening up at the top, and a lot of construction is ongoing. And then those earth-moving equipment are also actively doing construction there, and the rock keep on becoming fractured. And that is what we have to start working on to save people from the place. Otherwise, NADMO will be overwhelmed. NADMO will be overwhelmed when they get to that stage. But sadly, when we speak, authorities turn a deaf ear to expert opinions.
Right. Let's talk remedial measures. What can be done to salvage that part of the hill? I mean, we've been told by the geologists that that part of that portion, that mountain range, is especially weak. What can be done to salvage that part of the hill, or should we just evacuate all of those in the area?
There should be an extensive education, investigation, further investigation. We want to do the reconnaissance study, the deck study, but there should be an extensive education and investigation. Some of the buildings, obviously, when you just see them, they have to be evacuated. People have to start leaving the place because the rains here are going to be massive. So once we identify those which are, likely to be affected with this coming rain, those will have to be evacuated, and then we'll put in a certain plan that periodically we'll have to get others who are less in danger to get out of the place so that we can loosen. You see, there are a lot of loose material. What we'll do as engineers is that we'll have to go in with machines, and then all the loose areas would have to be removed, and what we call the berm. We have to berm the mountain because the houses are so close, so some of the houses have to be broken down. If you go to Ayimensa, from the Peduaslo to Ayimensa, you see that there are about 3 steps the mountain. When we were doing the road construction in 2004 to 2006 or 2007, because of the high mountain, we couldn't just cut the rock to widen the road. So you have to do like a step so that the slopes may have a gentle movement, from the top there with the berm, so that if in the event where there are rocks, which are even come from the first instance, from the highest area, they will slow down because they will get to a certain flat area and then lay there before the loose ones will move downwards. So we have to evacuate a lot of people with an extensive investigation.
Right.
And then when we come out with a conclusion, then government will have to look at the package of getting those, because most of them have been given permits. Most of the people who are staying there, let's say they are people who don't have any knowledge or any idea about what is happening there. And they have their lands and they have gone for permit to construct the buildings. And the technocrat at the assembly, who should know better, are the ones issuing permits for the people to be there.
Which is what makes
when they get to that stage, because they have been legally given permits, you have to duly compensate them when they're getting them out of the place.
Right. And on the back of that, so for those who may choose to stay in this area, what can be done to secure their buildings on an individual level? What can they do?
No, once you are closer to where the rocks are already fractured, there's nothing you can do. A whole mountain, maybe more than 500 square meter area is about to come down. Your building is sitting on the 500 square meter. You cannot protect it. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing, because it has to be properly engineered. Some houses have to be removed, and then you have to now engineer it, or at least to make it a bit stable. But we cannot control whatever is going to happen there completely. So government has to be steadfast with this. Government has to be proactive and get people out of the place with immediate effect before we are visited with this year's rain.
Engineer Mahama, thank you so much for engaging us this morning and for sharing your thoughts on these matters. He was talking about the Wager Hills and developments there. But let's get to our next story. And power transmitter Gridco says its reconstruction of some transmission lines here in Accra will not result in long periods of outages. Gridco had earlier issued a statement where it had served notice of outages starting on Saturday till the end of June. Now, the areas named to be affected included those on the Malam-Achimota-Aveno transmission lines. A new statement, however, says there wouldn't be outages. That notwithstanding, some areas in the said transmission lines are already experiencing power outages. Let's share details of the first and second statements for a better appreciation of the issue. So let's start with the one dated April the 8th, 2022. And this is what it says. Reconstruction of transmission lines from Achimota to Malam substations. And the Ghana Grid Company Limited is reconstructing transmission lines from the Achimota substation through Aveno to the Malam substation. The work involves the taking out of service of two 161 kV transmission lines, that is Achimota Accra Central and Achimota Malam, from Saturday, April the 9th, 2022 to Thursday, June the 30th, 2022. The outage is to enable Gridco to upgrade the transmission capacity on each line. This important exercise is to meet the growing demand for electricity in Accra and its environs. The outage will affect customers served by the Electricity Company of Ghana's distribution systems crossing these transmission lines, that is between the Achimota substation at Jowlu and Aveno in Accra, during the day for the stated period. Gridco apologizes for any inconvenience caused during the period. Now, that was the initial statement as shared by Gridco. We'll be bringing you details of the second one, which seems to point to the contrary. But we have engineer Bernard, who will be joining the conversation and sharing his thoughts with us. But right before that, let's get into the second statement. Also with a similar headline, but it says, this is dated April the 10th, 2022, and it says, our attention has been drawn to press reports with headlines such as Dumsor to hit Accra for 84 days in reference to a public statement issued by Gridco, which announced the commencement of the reconstruction of transmission lines from Achimota to the Malam substations. While we confirm the reconstruction work on our transmission lines has commenced since Saturday, April 9, 2022, we wish to assure the public that the ongoing work will not lead to any Dumsor. For the information of the public, Phase 1 of the reconstruction exercise of the transmission line from Malam substation to Aveno was undertaken and successfully completed in November 2021 without any significant disturbances to power delivery in Accra and its environs. Phase 2 of the exercise from Achimota substation to Aveno will similarly not disrupt power delivery in Accra. The last bit, we wish once again to reassure Ghanaians that Gridco and ECG are collaborating effectively to deliver power while the reconstruction work goes on. And so those are details there. Now, Engineer Bernard Kwabena Asante-Jan is a manager at the executive office at Gridco. He joins us with some clarification. Engineer, thank you for joining. Now, could you explain what appears to be a contradiction when the first statement issued by Gridco is compared to the joint statement issued by Gridco and the ECG? Are we going to have power outages or not?
Good afternoon, Benjamin, and thank you for having me. I can confirm that we are not going to have power outages as a result of this project. And to clarify, the first statement was getting the impression that we were going to have power outages. But, you know, engineering is dynamic. We have always tried to look for better solutions to get comfort for our customers. So within the space of the 2 days between the issuance of the two letters, we have gone to the drawing board. We have engaged our stakeholders. We have broader consultation. We have had to review our project timeline in order to give comfort to our customers.
Right. So you do admit that the first statement intimated that there were going to be power outages, and that any people who, on the back of that, suggested that there would be power outages were actually correct, because that's what the first statement suggested.
In fact, that's how it seems like, but that's not the intention.
So what exactly brought about this clarity? Was it the backlash outpouring on social media?
No. We are continuously looking for better solutions, and this is an example of what we continually do to improve our services.
Some areas, some catchment areas actually experienced power outages right from Saturday when that first statement was put out. Even last night, from what we gather. How do you explain that?
So, as far as the grid is concerned, the grid is in good shape. We are not experiencing any challenges as of now. So if people are having outages, I reckon that will be very local outages, and probably ECG may have a better understanding of what is happening. But as it stands now, as far as the grid is concerned, we are in good shape.
So these outages have absolutely nothing to do with these works?
No, not at all.
The assurances to power consumers is that there wouldn't be outages as a result of the work Gridco is doing. I just want you to confirm that.
Yes. In fact, as far as this work is concerned, there is no outage associated with this work. And we are going to make sure that we do this with with very little disruption to public comfort. So that's what we want to do. And so people should be rest assured that we are going to do everything within our power to make sure that they have the supply as far as this work is concerned.
Bernard, just confirm for me, you say very minimal, if I heard you right, very minimal outages at a point. So there could be outages on the back of this?
No, we don't foresee an outage. We don't. And if we have to, definitely we'll have to come back to you and have a conversation. But as it stands now, we don't foresee any outage with this project.
Well, we'll have to leave it here. Bernard Asante-Jan, Manager, Executive Office at Gridco. Thank you so much for joining us with those details. Now, Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Dr. Ishmael Aka, has observed that utility services providers will require more and targeted investment to make them more efficient. He explained that some of the providers are still using machines as old as 50 years, which have not seen any major upgrades. The Executive Secretary of the PURC, Dr. Aka, made the observation after a two-day tour of utility service providers in the Western region.
Executive Secretary of PURC, Dr. Ishmael Aka, made the observation after a two-day tour of utility service providers in the Western region. He used the 2 days to engage management of ECG, Ghana Water Company Limited, Gridco, VRA, and Tico Taka on their challenges and ways to make them more efficient. At ECG, their main challenge had to do with theft of cables as its ground-mounted transformers and road construction that affect its underground cables, which results in localized outages.
ECG has been doing well here in the region. Duration of outages and frequency and a number of other indicators. I think their challenge mainly is cable theft, where people cut cables, they steal at times even live cables has been a challenge to them. There are also issues with this vegetation, where the overgrown vegetation affecting power supply, and a few other challenges, but these were the two main ones.
Management of the Ghana Water Company lamented activities of illegal mining, obsolete machines, and lack of expansion as accounting to their inability to work efficiently.
Some of the key challenges that we have as a region is our water pollution, the illegal mining, and there are a lot of activities, not only in the illegal mining. There are a lot of construction going on in the upstream of most of the rivers that is heavily polluting our waters. So we have a seasonal problem, and that seasonal problem is about dredging and desilting of our intake, Daboasi specifically, and Bonsa.
Dr. Ishmael Aka learned from Gridco that an additional transmission line will be required to guarantee uninterrupted power supply to critical areas in the western region. Management of VRA and Tico Taka complained of high cost of gas, which makes them less effective. They also called for investment to increase their capacity.
Special Gridco, they are looking at investment in alternative lines. As I said, the Siama line is single, and recently insulators, they had issue with the insulators, so they need to invest in some of those areas. When you come to ECG, due to the construction at Market Circle, where they have 2 underground cables, I think one of them was down and the other one tripped yesterday, so almost the whole of yesterday, some part of Takoradi was off. They need to invest in some of these lines, invest in transformers to make even a Siama, they need a substation so that the system can be stable.
Dr. Ishmael Aka also challenged customers to ensure that they pay their bills and help report persons who engage in illegal activities that affect the smooth operation of utility services providers. For JoyNews, in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
We take a breather. We'll be right back on JoyNews Desk.
It's time now for business. I am Beverly Broom. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta still has the power to vary thresholds for applying the tax on electronic transfers, whose implementation begins from 1st May. This was captured in a notice released by the Ghana Revenue Authority on the implementation of the e-levy. My colleague George Riafe has the rest of the story.
This was highlighted as part of the notice that the Ghana Revenue Authority sought to explain to the public that transfers coming from an individual's bank account will be subjected to a threshold that will be taxed, but determined by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. For some, this may come across as a big relief, especially for those that are pushing for the 100 Ghana cedis that will be excused from the tax should be up to 200 Ghana cedis. It is not clear for now whether the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, may want to review this threshold or wait and see how the tax will perform. The Deputy Minister of Finance, Dr. John Kuma, has announced that government has revised its expected revenue from the levy by the end of this year to 4.5 billion Ghana cedis, from the initial 7 billion Ghana cedis. The Ghana Revenue Authority has also announced that the tax will take off from the beginning of next month and to charge 1.5% of the electronic transfer done at each time. It will also cover transfers from bank accounts to mobile money accounts, as well as mobile money transfers done between accounts on the same electronic money issuer.
The Ministry of Trade and Industry says it is taking steps to introduce regulations for cement manufacturing in the country. Deputy Minister in charge of Industry, Michael Ochre-Befi, says this would ensure improvement in standards of cement product. He spoke at the launch of a partnership between cement manufacturer CMAF and the Kumasi Technical University. Nanaya Aljima filed this report.
Some of the cement manufacturers are not.
According to the Deputy Minister, regulating the cement industry will ensure sector players uphold standards. Though some activities of the industry are under regulation, there is need for holistic regulations. Mr. Ochre-Befi says the goal is to ensure production of quality products to positively affect building in the country.
A foreigner or a Ghanaian can just say that, oh, I'm starting cement manufacturing. Let me just write to Ghana Standards Authority or go to EPA and take permits. That's all. Others are only taking interest in doing quantity or doing a lot and selling it cheap without taking so much interest in quality. So that's how come we are trying to look at coming out with a very specific regulation to regulate activities.
It is identified that poor knowledge of cement products by artisans have often caused failure of cement works. Joseph Kobna Abu is head of marketing at CIMAF.
People think cement is cement, but we have different grades, different quality, and different types of cement that is available to use. So this training will help the customers or the masons to be able to identify and apply the right method which is to be used for them to get better results.
On Mondays, as the Technical University is to train among others.
The Kumasi Technical University is finding ways to address issues of cement failure in the construction industry. The Alliance for Excellence Partnership with cement manufacturer CIMAF will train 4,800 artisans in the next 4 years. Dr. Smart Sapon is head of Institute of Research, Innovation and Development at KSTU.
This relationship with CIMAF covers 4 focus areas. One is what would train about 1,200 cement user artisans every other year. We are looking to do this for the next 4 years, and 1,200 of master craftsmen in cement using would be trained. We know, yes, they have some level of training, but we believe that with the changes in time, with the modern ways of doing things, with the rate of construction failure, we need to bring them back to the university to be retrained on how things should be done properly, and then how the various grades of cement can be used to enhance construction integrity.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima reporting.
That'll be all for business. We have more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business.
Well, before we do sports, let's go to the Bono East region, where the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in charge of lands and forestry, Benito Usubio, has inaugurated the Bono East Regional Lands Commission office with a call for effective land administration for sustainable development. The minister, at a brief ceremony in Techiman, highlighted the significance of the office and noted that the new edifice would bring the administration close to people at the local level and drive inclusive development. And Asabit has more in this report.
In line with Article 258 and 2601 of the 1992 Constitution, which mandates the creation of the Lands Commission's regional offices across the country, the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources in charge of lands and forestry, Benito Usubio, has commissioned the Bono East Regional Lands Commission office. The move, according to the Deputy Minister, is to, amongst other things, help in the facilitation of land-related documentations for the people of the region.
Nana Chairman, in accordance with Article 261 of the 1992 Constitution, which provides that the Lands Commission shall have a branch in each region to be known as Regional Lands Commission for the performance of the functions specified in Article 258 of this Constitution, it became necessary to take steps to establish the regional offices of the Commission.
The Deputy Minister further highlighted some socio-economic importance of the new office, adding that the fully furnished regional office will boost investor confidence and reduce the usual delays associated with the processing of land documents.
Nana Chairman, the era when applicants have to travel for hours from Techiman, Kintampo, Nkuranza, Kwame Danso, etc., to access land administration services in Sunyani has become a thing of the past. Thus, the unofficial cost associated with land administration service will now reduce drastically. Nana Chairman, what is unique about the establishment of offices in the new regions is that the offices shall operate in a fully digital environment. This will help achieve speed and reduce the usual delays associated with processing of documents in manual environment.
Chairman of the occasion and Ankobiahin of the Techiman Traditional Council, who spoke on behalf of the overlord of Techiman, Nana Amponsa Yeboah Takra II, expressed joy for the commissioner of the office and noted that the new office would aid residents to appropriately register their lands, thereby reduce land disputes in the region.
Today is a remarkable day. The Lands Commission, I would say, it's one of the offices that the people of this region yearned to see this day. So I believe that the good people of the Bono East region would always do the needful by registering their lands when it is possible to do so.
Board chair of the Regional Lands Commission, Mary Ama Kodom Ajman, on her part disclosed that the commission is embarking on a campaign aimed at sensitizing the public on the need to complete their land documentation processes.
The Bono East Regional Lands Commission will embark on a strategic multi-stakeholder sensitization, consultation and engagement in collaboration with identified partners. The commissioners and secretariat also recognize the urgent need to encourage people not to abandon the processes of documenting their land interest. Therefore, following the inaugurations, one of the key things we will be doing is to embark on a campaign that Operation Complete Your Land Documentation Process.
Bono East Regional Coordinating Director George Padmore Mensah, who represented the regional minister, urged the commission to effectively deliver on their mandate to promote the judicious use of land in the Bono East region and ensure that land use in the region is in accordance to sustainable development principles. Reporting for JoyNews, Anas Sabit, Techiman.